Welcome to Connected Leadership. I'm your host, Kimberly Dinville, the founder of Comment Leadership Development. My passion is helping others to develop their own leadership style and skills. Whether it's through one-on-one mentoring, writing, or speaking to groups of people, I love to discuss topics related to leadership and people management. We believe that anyone can be a leader, whether you're a people manager or not. We want to help you build the skills that help you connect and motivate people so they can reach their full potential. Thank you for joining us today, and let's dive in. Hello and happy Wednesday. Today we are going to talk about why you should pay attention to word choices, both those made by the people around you and by yourself. There are words and phrases that irritate people. I personally have my list, and no, I'm not going to go down the path of perfect again. Some of the items on my list are from overuse, all of those lovely little business cliches. And there are 1,000,001 articles on overused business cliches that tell me I'm not alone. Some phrases annoy me because I have knowledge of where the saying originated. Being a well of useless information isn't always a good thing. And I've been known to twitch at certain issues with grammar. But putting aside my personal grievances, there's a reason you should listen carefully to the words used by other people, and why you should be aware of your own word choices. Quite simply, word choices matter. Words are how we communicate. They are how we express our thoughts, ideas, emotions, and convictions. They allow others to understand us. And if you pay close attention to word choice, you notice patterns that can help you identify someone's qualities and characteristics. You can begin to uncover biases and sentiments, both the conscious and the unconscious. So let's start with a fairly easy business example. You're in a meeting with someone talking about something new going on in your company next week. It's been fully vetted, it's actively in progress. The person you're speaking with has seemed engaged. They ask appropriate questions. They talk about how this new thing is a benefit to them. They ask questions about how soon it will be available. And there's an open dialogue about wanting to be involved and offering assistance. Based on this scenario, described so far, everything seems optimistic and affirming, no? But what if there were sprinklings of commentary throughout the discussion? You hear phrases like, "That's a good idea in theory." "I really like the idea. It could really help us improve our customer perception." So we theoretically have a new. The proof is in the pudding. It could work. These statements, particularly if taken together, indicate that regardless of how vocal the other person is in support of your company's new thing, they have reservations and doubt. Maybe they doubt the impact will be as great as you believe. Perhaps they question something will be delivered. They might have reservations about the ability of you or your team to be the ones to be successful. Now contrast with the following set of statements. That's going to be a really good change. "I really like it. It will help us improve perception by whatever. The new one is going to make this easier. So we can. Okay, our first target will be." Notice that the softer, less assertive words from the first set of statements are missing out of the second set. Idea, theory, could, and other equivalents that boil down to "we'll see." If the other party in the discussion is using more assertive and confident words, they likely have faith and belief in whatever that new thing is from your company. Here's another example based on hiring a new employee. In this example, the word choices are going to be more subtle, and it really comes down to looking at the overall situation. In this particular case, I was meeting with a possible job candidate. They had technical responses that aligned with what I would expect based on the background from their resume, and they caused some interest with the local subject matter expert. The person I was talking to was articulate. They were polished in all of their responses. But despite having a nearly textbook perfect interview, something felt off. In this case, what felt off was the word choices that the candidate was using. And these word choices seemed to speak to underlying beliefs that were at odds with the team culture and the job they were applying for. While the answers were technically correct, the way the candidate spoke and the word choices indicated that their beliefs and actions were not aligned with their answers. This candidate was telling me what they thought I wanted to hear, not really what they believed. When I asked about feedback and prior criticism, the candidate told me that they were humble and that they were receptive to feedback. However, through the course of the interview, the candidate would say they, quote, had to be right, and that they always knew the best answers. In a different question, the candidate stated that they knew more than their leadership team, and they were dismissive about the criticism that was received. When I asked specifically about seeking personal growth, the candidate didn't speak to any growth they were seeking in their own skills or qualities, or growth that they had had. Instead, they just talked about changes to their assigned tasks or changes in the company focus. The candidate in question was applying to a support role that helped other groups. The word choices implied that the candidate had the assumption of being one of, if not the most important person in almost every room they walked into. They discussed, quote, willing to step down to another role to learn what it involves. One answer stated that the candidate was, quote, willing to get their hands dirty. Now, in and of itself, this particular statement, willing to get your hands dirty, is not always negative. It's frequently intended as a positive statement. But when you look at it in the context of everything else said, it had a slightly demeaning quality to it. The word choices used by the candidate implied that they thought the other roles were worth less, even though those other roles would be more knowledgeable and more critical to the day-to-day business. The candidate would use mildly demeaning industry slang, and general comments seemed dismissive. And finally, the candidate's answers seemed to imply that they were applying or aiming for a more advanced and senior leader role well beyond what the position was that they were applying for. Their responses to questions were focused on how they would guide others in task completion rather than how they would approach the task themselves. The candidate even stated they were, quote, willing to do the primary responsibilities of the job. I ultimately did decline the candidate. Now understand, I have no doubt that the person is a wonderful asset to a different company in a different role. So please don't mistake my commentary on word choices here to imply that they were a terrible candidate overall. However, they just weren't a fit at that particular place and time. Now, while we're talking about word choices, we also really need to be mindful that our word choices can convey respect or disrespect towards another person. Be aware of word choices that seem dismissive. Okay, yeah, but. It's fine, it's only whatever. Be careful that some word choices are confrontational or derogatory. Now, granted, these are not usually subconscious, but occasionally they slip out. I've heard, "Listen, girly," or "Listen, lady," or "Look, you." Very confrontational style language. In contrast, there are phrases that can convey listening, empathy, and respect. For example, what I'm understanding is, "I appreciate your feedback. I can see your point. I don't agree with everything. However, it seems that we can agree on whatever." While we may not intend to be hurtful or deceitful or use those annoying buzzwords and phrases, things can slip into our regular conversation, particularly when emotions or stress runs high. But if you start just paying attention to the words used around you, after a while, you also start to pay closer attention to your own. And when we pay attention to our word choices, when we pay attention to the word choices around us, we can have clearer communication. And that clearer communication is one of the keys to having stronger leadership. That's all for this episode. Thank you for joining in and listening. Don't forget to subscribe so you can be alerted when the next episode comes out. If you want to get more detail on today's topic, or you want to check out our other material, please visit us at cometleadership.com. You'll find a series of articles, templates, and training material. You can also email me directly at kimberly@cometleadership.com. Thanks for listening and have a fantastic day.